All right, let's dive into a really critical challenge that's putting a strain on so many organizations right now, especially with AI becoming so central to everything. We're talking about something called the velocity mismatch.
We're kicking things off with this quote for a reason. It just perfectly frames the stakes, doesn't it? This isn't just about some abstract business theory. We're talking about the stability of the very systems we all depend on.
You see, at the heart of any big, complex organization, there's this core tension. It's a fundamental split between two groups, and really getting a handle on this is key to everything we're about to cover.
So on one side, you've got the doers, the engineers, the builders, the folks with that deep hands-on knowledge of how things actually work. And on the other side, you've got the deciders, the leaders who are setting the strategy. Now, in the past, these two groups were pretty tightly connected. But today, in this incredibly complex tech landscape, that connection is getting weaker and weaker. And that's leading to some seriously flawed strategies and a whole lot of wasted effort.
And here's the thing. This isn't just another small, incremental change. The shift we're in the middle of right now is creating a gap that leaders in previous eras just never had to deal with. It's a completely new kind of institutional strain, where the people with all the authority are becoming more and more disconnected from the reality of how things actually get built.
So, this growing gap, this new kind of pressure on our organizations, well, it has a name, the velocity mismatch.
And this right here is the crucial point. It's a speed problem. The technical complexity of our world, it's accelerating like crazy. But the technical literacy of the people in charge, well, it just isn't keeping up. This is a systemic issue, a fundamental mismatch in velocity.
Think about the big tech waves of the past. Steam gave us more power. Electricity gave us more efficiency. The internet, it gave us connectivity. But AI does something way more profound. It literally changes how we know things. It's a change in what philosophers call epistemology.
So, what does that actually mean in the real world? It means the very foundation of how we make decisions is changing. If leaders don't have a basic grasp of how these AI systems work, their big strategic choices start being based on hype and buzzwords, not on the actual mechanics of their own organization.
And this just reframes the whole issue, right? Technical literacy is no longer some nice-to-have skill for a leader. In the age of AI, it's become a core part of effective governance. If you don't have it, you're basically flying blind.
Now, you might be thinking this all sounds a little abstract, but it's not at all. This exact pattern is played out over and over and over again throughout business history. Let's look at a few ghosts from the past.
I mean, we all know these stories, right? Kodak literally invented the digital camera, but then buried the project to protect their film business. Blockbuster had a chance to buy Netflix and just laughed it off as some niche thing. And Nokia and BlackBerry, they were the kings of hardware, but they completely missed that the entire game was shifting to software and ecosystems.
Look, these weren't just bad coin flips or random strokes of bad luck. They were symptoms of a much deeper problem, a failure of leadership to truly understand a fundamental shift in the technology. They were classic textbook cases of the velocity mismatch.
So, take a look at this list. Does any of this sound familiar? These are the quiet symptoms that are happening right now today. Companies pouring millions into AI without ever cleaning up their data first. Big, grand transformation plans that totally ignore the reality of their own technical architecture. This is just the modern version of Kodak executives looking at a digital photo and only seeing a threat to their film business.
And let's be super clear about something. This isn't about blaming leaders for not being engineers. The people involved are incredibly smart. The problem is structural. It's a failure of coordination between the people who get the technology and the people who hold the authority.
Okay, so let's go a little deeper. What really happens when this gap, this mismatch between literacy and governance becomes a permanent feature of how we run things? This analogy just nails it. You don't need the admiral to be able to build the ship's engine, but you absolutely need them to understand the principles of navigation. Trying to lead a modern tech-driven organization without a basic level of computational literacy, it's just as dangerous.
So when you strip everything else away, when you boil it all down, what's the one thing that's truly at risk when decision authority gets detached from operational reality?
It's this: epistemic authority.
So what on earth is that? Well, think of it this way. In a world that is completely built on software, the authority to say, yes, this is possible, or this is valuable, or this is safe, that is everything. And when the people making those calls don't understand the underlying mechanics, trust just evaporates. The whole organization starts to lose its coherence. All right, so we've diagnosed a pretty serious problem here. But, and this is a big but, it is not hopeless. Just recognizing that the velocity mismatch is a real thing is the first step, and there is a path forward.
Right now, everyone is worried about AI replacing jobs, but the much bigger and more systemic risk isn't that our engineers will become obsolete, it's that our models of leadership will become obsolete because they were designed for a much simpler, slower, industrial era.
So the answer here isn't to panic. It's not about forcing every executive to learn how to code. It's about recognizing that we need a whole new discipline within our organizations.
And that discipline has a name: literacy parity. See, the burden can't just be on engineers to learn how to speak the language of business. Leaders also have to learn to speak the language of technology. It has to be a two-way street where literacy on both sides rises together.
And we'll end on this final thought. The velocity mismatch. It doesn't show up with a loud bang. It's a quiet, corrosive strain. It's that growing cynicism you feel in meetings. It's that widening gap between the strategy on the slides and the reality of execution. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Can you hear that quiet strain in your own organization?